Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today we're going to be recapping episode 115 of Campaign 3 of Critical Role. Let's get into it. We start on Rites with the Bells, Hells, and the Mighty Nine. They're laying low in the city of Kavirus, waiting for word from Allura that the battle has begun back down on Exandria. Chetney tells everyone to get their dicks out, which then somehow switches to a conversation about Ford's nipples that goes on for way too long. Jester asks for more details about the Weave Mind, and Chetney says that there's 5 super powerful beings that can float with psychic powers. Orem says that the last time they saw them, they just sort of appeared and trapped them in a wall of rock, and they seemed to vanish as quickly as possible. Imogen sort of notes that they were probably projections that they were, talking to. Chetney explains that they haven't really had many meetings with them personally, so they don't truly know. Dorian asks if they have dealt with psychic powers before, and the Nine says that they have. Yasha says that she's been controlled many times, but Caleb has that covered this time. Veth says that she can actually do the same thing to somebody else if need be. Imogen says that all Rylorans have psychic abilities, but the Weave Mind are the strongest of them. Caleb asks if they have a plan for Ludinus, and Ashton says that they're more goal-oriented than they are planners. They are going to kill Ludinus, and then either free Predathos or take it over. Caleb asks about setting it free. Imogen asks if the Mighty Nine have talked to the gods before. Caduceus, Ford, and Yasha all say that they have a connection to the gods. Ford says that the Wild Mother turned his life around at one point. Fern asks the Mighty Nine what they believe should happen with the gods. The Nine aren't quite sure what they mean, but Veth notes that it seems like they're talking about potentially getting rid of them somehow, but the Nine are pretty much pro-god. Yasha was saved by the Stormlord, and Ford, like he mentioned before, had his life turned around. Caduceus says that he is a cleric of the Wild Mother and actually has a connection to the Archheart. And the Bells Hells explain Ludinus' plan about killing off the gods using Predathos. Caduceus says that he doesn't want to let the gods die. Imogen asks Laudna in her head how much they should really be saying, and Laudna says everything, as this is sort of the final confrontation. Everyone needs to know everything. The Hells then tell the Nine everything that happened when meeting the gods. They explain the Archheart and the Matron being sort of on different sides from the rest of the Prime Deities, but the Bells Hells have no clue about the Betrayer gods outside of what Breus might know. Breus notes that he feels they deserve to have a second chance. Jester thinks the Traveler will become super powerful without the gods, so she's okay with whatever happens here. Caleb adds that Ludinus is one of the most powerful living beings on all of Exandria right now, so anything that he wants is kind of a bad thing. Ford asks where he stacks up in comparison to Trent Ickathon, and Caleb says that he's actually had centuries longer to prepare, so probably pretty good, if not better. Ford asks if they know where Ludinus Deleth is, and the Bells Hells say yes, he's at the Hollowed Cage, and that's their target. Jester asks if they would like to switch. Chetney says no, they fought him before, but that was a snowman version of him. Jester notes that they might have to fight their own version of Snowdinus, as he might be with the Weave Mind, or one of the simulacrums might be with the Weave Mind. Caduceus asks what if another god were to come to them and tell them to let them stay. And Breus says that there's no clear answer for all of this as of right now. Ford says if they win, it seems like it's up to the gods, mostly, depending on how things go. Orem notes that the lack of consensus in this room is the same amongst the gods. They don't share the same opinions either. Laudna thinks that they should just play it all out, let things happen as they are, and what happens, happens. But the last thing that she wants is for Fern or Imogen to try to take in Predathos, and it actually takes them over. They need to be flexible with what they're doing. Bray says whatever they pick, they need to be together on it. They can't be split, otherwise that'll create conflict. Fern says that when she's hungry, she doesn't really want to hurt people. Maybe she can take Predathos in and just be hungry and not hurt people, which is foolish. Caleb says to make sure that Ludinus is in control of the situation no matter what. Chetney definitely agrees with that statement. Bo says dealing with him first is the best choice, as if he were to release Predathos, he would have a massive advantage against them. Ashton says whoever gets to it first will be the one to end up to decide. This is total chaos and they have to be okay with that. Jester agrees with that quite a lot. Of course, the leader of the Chaos Crew does. Ford says that they all have their part to play in all of this. Veth says that they should give each other progress reports via messaging whenever they can. And Bo says that they're going to be each other's closest allies, and if the Nine finish up early, they'll try to show up and help the Bells Hells. She also says that they are very clearly close to this, and that's why they were picked for this job. They're the best ones for the job. Imogen actually notes that probably the reason they're doing this is because they have Ruidus born on their team. Bo says that Ludinus's weakness is his ego. As Caleb and her have been following for a while, they know it's his ego. Caleb says that Ludinus is going to be expecting them, so they should expect the unexpected, my least favorite line in anything ever. At this moment, standing in the doorway of the chamber that they're all sitting in is Rashina, who notes the conversation that they're having. Gaz introduces his boss to the Mighty Nine. Lana asks if they who she will be joining, and Rashina says that she's not really going to be joining anybody, but it seems that one of their groups is going to be going to the same place as the Volition. She's hoping to launch a coordinated assault with that group, which is the Mighty Nine. But if they can't go at the same time, their plan will still go ahead, and then they can join later. She says that they have hid supplies around the city, and they've made a couple of cable cannons to get them to the exterior of the Arx Creonum. They'll be sending a demolition experts team first, including herself, to the Arx Creonum to create a massive explosion. She then takes out a small turret-looking device that has a grappling hook on the front and back. She says that they have a few of these, 3 of them, to get them to the Arx Creonum and then climb up from there. So the way that this cable grappling hook thing works is there's a single cable attached to this turret that she pulled out before, and they will be attaching harnesses that have hooks on it and also wheels on the harness that'll allow them to be pushed. But the way that things get pushed is through the psychic powers. So that's how this thing works. They don't Matt didn't make that super clear initially at first, but it becomes clear later, so I'm just putting that in now to make it fit better, because it makes a lot more sense to understand it now. There's a hook on it, there's wheels on it, and then the harness connects to the person, and the hook connects to the cable, and the wheels do as well. Bam, that's how it works. Just to make that clear. Veth says that she wants to be near the big explosion. Rashina says that she can help with the arrival team then. Veth actually shows off her alchemical knowledge by making some sort of, I guess it would be slime, if you guys know what slime is from the late 90s, early 2000s era. There was a lot of slime everywhere. And I guess later Nickelodeon adopted slime, but whatever. Gaz will go with the rest of the team and help them psychically up the cable, but not all of them. They only have 3 other harnesses available. Jester asks how long the cable is, and Rashina says 1,000 feet, which is insane. Jester says that she can polymorph and help the rest of them up if need be. Rashina says that she has 3 harnesses ready that are not being occupied by anybody, but if the Mighty Nine really want to have all of them use the harness to go up, they can swap out some people of the Volition, because it seems the Mighty Nine are going to be much more capable. And the Mighty Nine aren't sure yet. Rashina tells the 9 that they'll be going with Gaz to the top of the Zoku Belfry. She then tells Veth that she'll meet her there at the Belfry, and then she will leave with the demo party. Rashina then smiles and says that they should start setting up. They have about 15 minutes before they head out. And when the others get their signal that they should start their assault. Caddy takes out his tea set and makes some tea for everybody. He says that this might be the last time they have to see each other, so might as well have some tea. Ashton then takes out his flask and offers some alcohol to whoever wants it, because tea might not be enough. Bo asks Dorian for a toast, and they all raise their cups. He says to new friends and to old, to quiet moments before the storm, and to those who we've just met and hope to see again very soon, please don't die down the hatch to the 9 hells. I love that. The 9 hells is my favorite thing. This is Gaz's first time having tea, and Caddy explains it to him, and Gaz picks it up as, mushroom drink. Mushroom water. They tell him about more foods, including honey, in which Jester has some for him, so he tries it and he likes it as well. Breas asks Chetney to chisel in a RTA tattoo into his skin. Jester says that she can actually tattoo him, but Breas wants Chetney to do it. Chetney then chisels, very painfully, RTA into Breas, and Jester then gives a tattoo to Caduceus, because apparently he's been trying to talk her into it for a while, and might as well. Meanwhile, Dorian goes to Caleb and thanks him for his kindness, and he says that he's very envious of many things that he has and wishes him and his group good luck. Caleb says that he shouldn't be too envious of him. He's also going into danger and wishes them good luck as well, and claims that he didn't think that there would be a weirder group than his own, but they surpassed it. Laudna goes to Imogen and asks what she wants to do with Predathos when the time comes, and Imogen asks what Laudna wants. Laudna simply says that she wants whatever Imogen wants, which sounds cliche, but it's true. And she says, but if it doesn't feel right and she can take the opportunity to leave, she should. They can take the staff and teleport out. Imogen kisses her and says that they can't do that. They can't just abandon everyone else. Laudna says to trust her gut. It's gotten them this far. Imogen says that they've never thought life would have brought them here. It wasn't too long ago where they were jumping from town to town looking for a home. They still don't know what the future looks like. Laudna says that it was a similar time back then and believes that they weren't meant to be important, but that might be why they're here now. Laudna still thinks of the cottage now and then, and says the gods didn't affect them back then and they won't affect them after this. Laudna says that Imogen can change her mind whenever she wants. Orym listened to this entire conversation and is happy knowing that Imogen won't run after all of this is happening. Which is crazy. At this point, I didn't think that was a worry that he would have. At this point, Veth goes to Yasha. She feels bad about her feelings for Breus and thinks that she's a bad wife for her husband, Yeza, and asks how she and Bo keep things fresh in their marriage. Veth notes that it's not the sex, they're pretty wild in bed. But she's a mom now and her adventures are few and far between, and she feels that, things aren't as fun as they used to be. Yasha says that they spice things up in their relationships and occasionally go on dates with other people sometimes. This shocks everybody, including Marisha. She tells Veth to be honest, maybe Yeza likes minotaurs as well, and that could be something they do. Veth asks if Yasha and Bo would be open to a foursome. Jesus Christ. And Yasha says that they should talk about that later. This conversation goes on for far too long, and it's better to watch it than me explaining it, I promise you. I'm sure it'll be up everywhere very soon, because it's going to be one of those conversations. Bo and Yasha talk about adopting a kid after all of this is done, and they agree it's best to do it afterwards, because they've been holding it off for long enough. They should do it soon. Jester says to Ford that their wedding colors should be pink and dark pink, and they could either do it at the Lavish Chateau or Rumblecusp. Jester then invites the Bell's Hells to their wedding and asks if Dorian can play music for them, and he will. Breus says that he can officiate the wedding, but Ashen actually suggests Breus do the artwork for the wedding to give out to people, which he's very into. They then talk about the wedding parties for a bit and who should be on whose side, but eventually they shelve that conversation for a bit. Fern asks Ford about being slightly hesitant about all of this, and he says that he's not, he just thought there'd be more time because he just proposed to her, which is totally fair, by the way. He says that he's excited and suggests that maybe they could use the moon as their wedding location if it's still around. This excites Jester greatly, but questions the wedding colors against the red backdrop of the moon. Gas says that he knows a lot of places for them to honeymoon on, which is great. Rashina arrives again with a handful of other volition members behind her and says it's time to go. Ford says good luck to the other party. Caddy says that they might not agree on everything, but he asks them to do what feels kind, which I kind of like that. Yasha likes it a lot as well, and Breus apologizes to Jester for her judgment of her. Laudna asks Breus for the Raven Queen mask, and he does give it to her after they pray to it for a second. Imogen uses her telekinesis to move the mask into her hand to make it look like a sign from the Raven Queen that she likes Laudna more than Breus. Breus says it suits her better anyway, and it's been wonderful to have met them all. They say that he's one of them now too, and it's been wonderful to meet them. He is one of the Hells. Gaz yells at the Nine that they have to go, and says good luck to the Bell's Hells. Orym takes Dorian outside. He doesn't know how much time they have left, and asks if he can kiss him. Dorian says yes, and the two kiss for about 10 seconds. Orym says after all this, they'd like to figure this out, and Dorian says yes to that as well, and they kiss again. At this moment, Breus runs around the corner to show Orym a drawing of him that he made, but sees the two of them and gets sad and walks away. Ashen then takes Fern aside and asks if she would like to take a handful of the mushrooms that he stole off of Caduceus and take a trip with him. She says that she will. He says that he'd do anything stupid with her, or that she was down for. They don't like to talk about the future much, and they like adventuring with each other, and they both hug. Breas comes running around the corner to show Ashton a drawing he made of him, and sees the two of them hugging and gets sad and walks away. Poor Breas, Jesus Christ. Gets told that he's one of them, and then gets shunned out of 2 relationships. Technically, he's been shunned out of like all of them so far. Chetney's still available. Breas, come on. As the 2 groups are going their separate ways, Imogen thanks Caleb for talking to her in her head about more possibilities. He says that he'll see them tomorrow and good luck. She says it back. The Hells watch the 9 leave with the volition until they're out of view. Suddenly, Imogen hears a screech enter her mind, and a storm more powerful than ever kicks up. She hears her mother yelling her name. She sees the shadow of her mother whip around the storm. She tries to reach out and grab her with a dex save from Imogen of 22. She's able to grab onto her mother's arm. Her mother is glowing purple with energy. She says that she tried to convince him, but he knows, and she's sorry. Imogen says it's okay and asks what he's doing. She looks back at her mother's feet and watches her feet crumble away. Imogen yells no. Liliana says to stop him, and then she says it hurts. Imogen pulls her close and holds onto her in a deep hug. Perception check of 14. She sees many figures around Liliana, holding her in place in the storm, and a figure with long hair with a glowing funnel on his back. Liliana says stop him. There's a flash of energy that goes through Imogen's mind. We then cut to the Mighty Nine moving through the streets with the volition. Motherfucker, I was right about the funnel. He had his own funnel. Let's go. Actually, let's not go because it's terrible what's happening. But I was right. I got one right. We cut to the Mighty Nine moving through the streets of Kaviris with the volition. Some of the volition start to splinter off from the other group. There are guards about as they move around. They need to hide or at least be convincing. Caleb still has seeming up, which is good, so they don't really need to hide too much because they still look like aliens. For those curious how that's still possible, if they were all having their conversations in their regular look, it's because at this point, Caleb is so powerful that it doesn't matter. He can just drop the spell, have it just lightly hover over them. It's not a big deal to imagine that a level 20 wizard is able to sort of pop a spell up and down at this sort of rate. So, it doesn't bother me, shouldn't bother you. We're good. They all hear the massive bat-like creatures flying above them as they move around. Some of them are mounted with guards on them. The group need to make a deception check. Forward with a 25, Bo with a natural 20, Caleb with a 21, Veth with a 17, Jester with a 12, Caduceus with an 18, and Yasha with a 7. Barbarians and Charisma just don't get along, do they? The path they're taking isn't the same as the population, or the mass population, leaving the city. They notice that some guards are in fact following them. Rashina asks if any of them can talk telepathically, and Caleb says that he has a ring of telepathy that he can do it. She tells them to handle it as she is too recognizable. One of the Bormodo guards following them tells them to halt. He asks them what they're doing, and Caleb says they are on business tasked to them by the Weave Mind. The less questions, the better. Deception check of 19. The Bormodo looks at them. Gaz flexes, because of course Gaz flexes, and the Bormodo says that he wouldn't want to get in the way. They leave and continue going forward with the volition. Caduceus notices that some of the Ryloran guards splintered off from the Bormodo and are starting to circle them. Jester invokes duplicity, and she makes them run into all sorts of different directions to sort of confuse the guards. The party use this as a distraction and continue forward. They hear the sounds of chasing behind them as the bait has been bitten. Rashina asks if there's a problem, and Caduceus says the beginning of one. They start to move a bit more quickly, and Jester makes her duplicates cause a lot of chaos behind them. A deception check of 21, this buys them enough time to start to create some space. Rashina pulls them inside a small house, and then through it into another alleyway, into another house, into another alleyway, and on and on and on. Rashina brings them to what looks to be an intersection that has a 3-tiered tower with a bell on it. Rashina says this is where they will set up, and the party see that the Arx Creonum is right across the way, over a massive gap in between where this part of the city is, the gap, and the Arx Creonum. They see the fortified glass pillar and the stone-like beehive thing that bulges out of it right beside it. That is the Arx Creonum. They try to get a sense of scale to the Archcreonum itself, seeing some guards upon it. They see that the castle, or the Archcreonum itself, might be roughly the same size as the main castle in Rexingtrum, which I did not realize that castle was that fucking big. The party wait for the guards to leave, who were following them before, and a volition member signals that they are fully gone. They start to set up the grappling hook. The 3 harnesses are placed at the feet of Yasha, Caduceus, and Jester, as they will be the ones using it. Bo can run across the cable. Veth can use spider climb to do the same. Bo looks at the angle of the cable to make sure that it's doable, and the 30-degree angle would be doable. Caleb can also polymorph and become a bird if he needs to carry people. He will be on catching duty, as will Ford, who will use Star Razor to cast Fly on himself. Caleb asks Rashina what the bell here is for, and she says that it's used for at certain times of the year for people to like dream together, which is interesting. Caleb becomes a giant eagle. Ford uses Star Razor to cast Fly on himself. There's one line that everyone will be attached to, and they have to sort of pick an order of who is going to go in what order as they go up. Yasha, Caduceus, and Jester put on their harnesses. Gas explains that the wheels on it will help them be pushed forward using his telepathic powers. Rashina comes back with other Rylorans that are all wearing black leathers. She goes to Veth and says that she's good with chemicals, so she'll be with the demo team. She is then given an outfit similar to the Rylorans. A Bormodo tells Rashina the cannon is ready. Rashina says that they just have to wait for the signal, and she'll teach Veth how to deal with the payload, as she puts it. She learns that there are 3 teams at 3 different places around the city, and they'll all set bombs at different parts of the Archcreonum. And then they'll have a chance to take cover, as it's a timed explosion. And then once the explosion goes off, the cable will be dropped, a new cable will be shot, and then the others will join them. The explosion will hopefully take out a bunch of guards and will make a big enough opening to get them deep into the Archcreonum. Caleb gets a message at this moment from Elora saying that the assault has begun. He informs the others using his telepathic ring, because he's a bird. Rashina then takes the demo team up to the cannon. Other Rylorans are taking aim with it, and one takes out a glass orb and begins to flick it, making what looks to be like some sort of light signal. It signals the others around the city, and all the Rylorans begin to focus on the cannon. And the glass of this cannon begins to glow, and a cable is silently fired out and carried telepathically over to the Archcreonum. It then hooks into the handful of different cannon hooks, are all hooked into the wall, and they are then pulled tight via the psychic powers. The Rylorans attach themselves to it, to the cable itself, and then they start moving. Veth casts Spider Climb on herself and then runs her way up the cable. Jester casts Death Ward on Caleb and Caduceus using some sort of split ability that I didn't quite catch, and Caduceus casts it back on her. Veth is moving faster than the Rylorans up the cable, as she has her speed and her dash. And her extra dash, because she's a rogue. She needs to make a stealth check. She rolls a 35. What the fuck is the point of even rolling at that point? If you have that many modifiers, just don't bother. Without issue, the demo team makes it to the wall of the Archcreonum. She then looks back and sees the city in its full empty form now, and she sees massive creatures are now taking the land back over. It seems all that was needed for them to not do this was the mass population that was living here. She then sees strange ballista and guards are keeping watch of the place. There is very much tension in the air. She waits for the rest of the demo team to arrive, and they start to take out their climbing gear and making their way up. She doesn't need climbing gear because she has spider climb. Veth looks for weak points in the wall that she can place her little glass vials in. She makes a 28 investigation check, and with no issue, she finds many cracks in the walls that would be used to make a large opening. She starts placing the vials with green liquid inside of these cracks, and Rashina says that she will handle the exploding part. Rashina tells Veth to move to the side, away from where the explosion will be. They all move, and Rashina looks back, and one of the vials starts glowing. Veth finds a place for them to stand on. It seems pretty sturdy and hopefully out of the way. Rashina says that she thinks that they've been spotted, but it doesn't matter. And suddenly there's a massive explosion. The rest see a massive explosion of green and blue, and they hear a massive echo ring throughout the entire cavern of Kaviris. There's a pause, and then a third of the front of the Arxcrionum begins to slide away from the rest of the base of the pillar itself. A massive dust cloud fills the space, and the first cable is cut, and the volition fires a new one. At this point, everyone starts to hear yelling, which is kind of new for them because most people talk in their heads. The rest of the 9 with Gaz attach themselves to the new cable, and Gaz starts pushing them forward. Veth needs to make a dex save, and she rolls a 20, and is hit for 5 damage, but with evasion she takes 0 damage, as some rocks begin to fall and hit her. But doesn't seem to bother her at all. Rashina and the others start making their way back towards the opening. It'll take about 7 rounds for the team to make their way up the cable, and Ford and Caleb begin to fly below them to make sure that if they drop, she can grab them, or they can grab them. Bo can move faster than the other team, and she's trying to beat Veth's time up there. She can go 210 feet per fucking round, which means that it'll take 4 rounds for her to make it. So we'll start with her. Acrobatics check of 27, no issue on the first turn. The next one is a 21, she almost falls off, but she's able to keep herself steady, and a 17 on the third round, and the same thing happens again. She almost falls, but she keeps herself up. Veth looks down at the cable and is very upset that it seems like she's about to be beat, so she grabs the cable and casts Shocking Grasp through it to try to make her slip. Bo, seeing the arc coming in slow motion, takes out her staff and tries to use it to grind on the rail. The DC is 20, and she rolls a 21. She grinds her staff on the cable and takes no damage doing so. She slides up to the wall and slams into it, using her fingers to dig into the wall so she can climb it. Cause dope monk shit. Normally I don't like the monk class, but it's starting to grow on me just a little bit. I think every time I see Bo do something cool, it just grows on me that little bit. Back to the rest of the team, who have 7 turns to make it. Yasha will roll first, and she rolls a d20. She gets a 14, and the first round goes off without issue. Next is Caduceus, who rolls a 13. He sees some guards have noticed them and starts shooting glass spears at them. Dex save from everybody on the cables. Jester a 13, she takes 12 damage as she's hit by one. Caduceus takes 12 damage as he rolls a 6. And Yasha with a 21 catches the spear going at her, and she holds on to it because she's very vindictive. Round 3, Jester will roll, and she rolls a 3. More spears fly at the team, but they miss the group. One of the spears actually hits Jester's harness, and she begins to fall. Yasha tries to grab onto her, but she rolls a 1 on the attempt to grab her. Ford, much like in Campaign 2 when they fell off the tree, dives after her and grabs her after about 100 feet of falling. Jester thanks Ford for this, and they begin to fly up towards the Arxcrionum. This unfortunately adds 1 turn to the roll that they need to. Yasha then rolls again. She rolls a 3. The cable is now rocking back and forth, and Yasha's harness comes loose. It comes off the hook that it was attached to, and she begins to fall off it. She tries to grab onto the hook so she can keep being propelled by Gaz, but on the attempt to grab it, she rolls a 1. That's a very similar sentence to what I said earlier. Caleb sees this and tries to fly down and catch her. Yasha rages because she's angry. She falls rapidly. Caleb rolls a strength check and rolls a 15. She had about 60 feet before hitting the floor, and the soldiers start shooting her as they go. Caleb does luckily grab onto her and pull up. He is hit and takes some damage and is left with 7 hit points in his eagle form. There should be a constitution saving throw for a concentration check, but that doesn't happen, and that's okay. They fly back up towards the pillar. Caduceus is the only one left being pulled up by Gaz, so it's actually moving much faster for them now, so less turns. However, Caduceus has to make the next round roll, so he rolls it and rolls a 1. As he watches Yasha get caught by Caleb, he breathes a sigh of relief, and then suddenly his harness breaks. Luckily for him, Jester was waiting and casts Polymorph on him, and she makes him into a giant beetle, and he begins to fly up towards the Arxcrionum with his buzzing wings. Gaz arrives now in quick fashion, laughing at them, saying that they're bad at this, and they start to climb up the exterior of the Arxcrionum. Athletics check from Bo to make sure that she doesn't fall off, because she's the only one that doesn't have some sort of magical means to get up there. She rolls a 17, so she climbs up there with no issue. They eventually reach one of the balconies as they hear guards moving around. As they climb up over onto this balcony, the guards spot them, and it's time to bring out a map. It's a sick map. The space in between the two structures on this map is where the explosion was, and that is where the party is trying to get to. There are tons of guards here, and there are many bat-like creatures flying overhead. It's time to roll initiative. Bo with a 23, Caleb with a natural 20, Caduceus with a 21, Yasha with a 21, Jester with an 18, Ford with a 15, and Veth with a 12. That might be the worst initiative from a fucking level 20 rogue I've ever seen. Bo is up. Actually, she's not level 20, is she? She's part wizard, so never mind. Either way, it's a pretty bad roll for a rogue. Bo is up. She runs along the wall in front of her, and she moves towards one of the Juggernaut and begins to attack. She pops him, hitting for both attacks, dealing 17 and 8 damage respectively, using Stunning Strike. However, the Juggernaut seems very sturdy and saves with an 18. Best not to use that anymore. She then uses her bonus action to Patient Defense. Caleb is up. He flies as far as he can and puts Yasha down on a ledge. He then dashes and flybacks toward Veth. Caduceus is up. He flies his full movement towards the ledge that Yasha was on, and he dashes to get there. Yasha is up. She climbs up the wall with all of her movement, and then she takes the spear that she caught initially, that she held onto, and throws it at the other Juggernaut that Bo is not fighting. She hits with a 29, dealing 12 damage. The Ryloran Cannoneers are up. One throws or shoots a glass blade at Yasha and misses. Another tries to hit her again, but misses as well. They both shoot at her again. The first one hits for 10 damage, and the other one misses for 5. It's later retconned that 10 damage is 5 damage because, for whatever reason, Matt forgot that magical damage is also had by barbarians. So, 5 damage. More try to shoot at Bo, but they miss. One actually does end up hitting, but she uses her deflect missiles and grabs the glass shard and then throws it back, hitting for 7 damage. The shooting, she has to roll a intelligence saving throw. Sorry, the person she hit has to roll an intelligence saving throw, and they fail and take 11 damage. These glass blades have some sort of intelligence effect that Yasha is immune to, so that's why she didn't roll that earlier. Jester is up. She holds her action as Ford is flying with her, and she's going to cast Darkness when they get close enough. A Juggernaut then runs and jumps across the fucking chasm that was made using his entire movement, and he makes it without issue. A different Juggernaut, the one that Yasha attacked earlier, charges her and attacks 3 times, missing the first one, hitting the other 2. She takes 6 damage and 5 damage respectively, and she needs to make a strength saving throw or be pushed off the fucking side of the cliff here. She saves with a 22. A Juggernaut then swings at Bo, missing 1, hitting 2 of their attacks for 18 and 15 damage. Bo needs to make a strength saving throw as well, and fails. So she rolls again with a key point and fails again, and is pushed up against the wall that she was standing on before, and she is now surrounded by the 2 Juggernauts over here. The bat-like creatures are up, and they fly down. One flies towards Jester and Ford, and doesn't make it within time, or can't attack or anything like that. And then another one flies toward Veth, again having to dash to get there. Ford is now up. He flies up towards one of the ledges and partially lands on it, partially hovers there with Jester. Jester puts the darkness near Yasha and on top of Bo, which means that Caduceus is no longer a beetle. Ford then casts Hex on the Juggernaut near Yasha and then shoots it 4 times with the Eldritch Blast, hitting 3 times for 42 damage. A Blade Baron, which is another Ryloran here, is up, and he begins to throw all of his blades, there's 3 of them, at Yasha, surrounding her, and they all begin to spin around her. She needs to make a dex saving throw. She rolls a 19. Sorry, she rolls a 9. She takes 21 damage, which is halved, which is brutal. Gaz is up. He jumps into the fight, taking out 2 glass blades of his own. However, he can't move any further. Veth disengages from the bat that's in front of her and begins to run toward her friends. She takes aim at one of the Juggernauts in the darkness, and she hits with a 39 damage. That includes sneak attack. Bo is now up. She runs and jumps down towards the Juggernaut above Caddy, who they're on different ledges above each other and below each other. She takes out her staff and uses one of the charges to attempt to push the Juggernaut off the platform. It fails the save with a 6, and he falls off the platform into the darkness below. Fuck yeah. Caleb is up. He flies towards Caduceus and lays a wing down for him to hop on top of him, and then holds his action to dash. Caduceus is up. He climbs onto Caleb's back, and Caleb uses his dash to fly into the big opening in the Arcturianum that was created. It's very similar looking to the depths of Aeor. He lands on an unoccupied floor, and Caduceus then uses the dodge action. Yasha is up. She starts making her way towards the massive hole, but before she does, she takes an attack at the Juggernaut in front of her. She hits twice, dealing 43 damage on the first attack, which is nuts, and 19 damage on the second attack. She then shimmies her way by him with an acrobatics check of 17. She's able to move past him without falling into the fucking shadow below them. She then jumps down to Caleb. Acrobatics check to make sure she takes no damage. She rolls a 17 on the roll and takes no damage landing. The Ryloran Cannoneers are up. They shoot at Veth for 4 damage. She needs to make an intelligence saving throw. She makes a 19 and only takes 3 damage. The other two shoot at Caduceus and Caleb. Caleb is hit for 7 damage, which means he loses his eagle form, and he takes 15 damage in his regular form from the second attack. He is also immune to intelligence stuff, psychic damage right now, so the intelligence save is not necessary. The other two miss on Caddy. Jester is up. She casts Guiding Bolt on the bat creature flying above her, but unfortunately she misses. The Juggernauts are up. One moves and falls next to Bo, who landed where Caduceus was before, and falls prone and stands back up and swings at her, and misses all 3 of its attacks. The other one then jumps down to Yasha and Caleb, and swings for Yasha 1 time and Caleb twice. It hits Caleb for 11 damage, and hits once on Yasha for 6 damage. The bats are now up. One flies after Veth again, and one flies at Jester and Ford. The one that flew at Jester and Ford swing its tail around, and the two of them may need to make a dex save as they're both attempted to be hit by this. They both save, but they both still take 21 fucking damage. That was on a save, people. Jesus. The one on Veth attacks twice, only hitting once, for 32 damage. These bats are insane. Ford is up. He uses Hexblade's Curse on the Juggernaut fighting Bo and sends 2 Eldritch Blasts at him, hitting with both for 13 and 19 damage respectively, killing it, making it fall into the darkness below. Caddy is up. Caddy uses his Keeper of the Soul to heal Yasha a bit after that individual died. Ford then moves his Hex to the bat creature near him and shoots at it twice for Eldritch Blast, only hitting once for 27 damage. Parts of its armor fall off, which means it'll be easier to hit next time. Ford then takes Jester and flies towards Bo. The Blade Baron is up, and he moves towards Gaz. Well, he moves his blades toward Gaz. Dex save from him. Gaz saves, and he only takes 12 damage, as it was a pretty bad roll. Don't hurt Gaz, by the way. That's just mean. The Baron starts to run at this point. Gaz is up, and he leaps after the Baron and lands in front of him and swings 3 times, hitting all 3 attacks, dealing 23, 23, and 20 damage, respectively, killing the Blade Baron outright. Fuck yeah, Gaz. Let's go. Veth is up. Gaz might be my favorite Ryloran we've ever met. Gaz is up. She runs from the bat creature again, letting it take an attack of opportunity this time, and it misses. She then dashes towards Caleb. She leaps down, and with a 20 on the acrobatics check, she cannonballs herself into the back of the Ryloran Juggernaut's head, landing on him and grabbing hold of him. Bo then leaps down to Caleb with no issue whatsoever. She then pops the Juggernaut that's there with a Veth on top of it. She hits both times for 18 and 12 damage respectively. She then uses her bonus action to attack again, but misses. Caleb is up. He casts Firebolt on the Juggernaut, hitting for 27 damage, killing the Juggernaut outright. His body also falls into the darkness below. Jesus Christ, they like throwing Ryloran Juggernauts off of the fucking cliff. Caleb then backs up into the tunnel. Caduceus is up and follows. The Cannoneer starts shooting for 9 damage on, I believe that was on Ford. Ford needs to make a int save and takes 1 damage as he saves. Jester is hit once and takes 7 damage. She fails and takes 11 damage on the int save. Ford is then hit again for 12 damage. He saves the int save again for 6 damage. Jester is now up. She runs and jumps down to the rest of the party. She rolls an acrobatics check and gets a natural 1 as she lands on the ball bearings that Bo left behind. Great. Taking 7 damage as she lands there. She's now prone. She dashes and stands up and moves into the tunnel with the rest of the party there. The bats are now up. One attacks Gaz, which hits for 22 damage. The other bat then attacks at Ford, missing the first attack, and the second attack would hit if not for Armor of Hexes. Ford is now up, and he shoots the bat for 27 and 35 damage respectively, killing that bat. He then flies over towards the others. Gaz is up, and he moves from the bat and jumps down to the players. He says that he'll cover them and then turns back to protect the tunnel that they're entering. Jester leaves him some honey, and he says that he likes her honey miss. I'm not kidding. He then turns back towards the enemies and yells out to them. None of them are getting a single bite. The party turn and then begin to run deeper into the Arx Creonum, and this is where the episode ends. So there you have it, episode 115 of Campaign 3, also known as one of my favorite episodes of all time because it's Mighty Nine centric, and I'm a big Mighty Nine fan. So, simple as that. Anytime Mighty Nine are there, it's going to be one of my favorite episodes. So, this is a really fun one. I very much enjoyed it. First and foremost, everything that sort of happened with the Bell's Hells and the Mighty Nine was an extension of how fun it was when we initially had this duo or team meetup. I thought it was very fun, very entertaining. I love the back and forth between all the teams. I love the back and forth between characters within the teams. Like, the whole Veth Yasha conversation was fucking insane, and I cannot do it justice, so you have to go watch that clip. I swear to God, it's so funny. But it's just, there's just so much fun when these groups are together. That's why, like, the name is so perfect together. They're the Nine Hells. It's amazing. It's so much fun. And then everything sort of leading up to them getting to the Arx Creonum was a ton of fun. With the cable, with Veth trying to fuck with Bo. Like, it's just so perfect how this team is so... Like, the players just naturally fit these characters so well that it feels like they were all born to play these characters. Like Travis just knows how to play Ford perfectly, I swear to God. And this is, as much as I love Fern and she has a ton of fun playing Fern, I feel like Ashley is best when she plays Yasha. Because Yasha's super simple with how things go, and it's not very complex. So she's able to just play the game and enjoy it without having to worry about spells and anything like that. So I feel like Ashley is at her best when she plays Yasha, as much as I think Fern is her best character, if that makes sense. But overall, I just love this team. It's so much fun to watch them. They have a lot of fun. There wasn't a single moment where I was like worried, because they always have each other's back. And someone made a very good point that I saw like on one of the videos prior to this, and that was that the Mighty Nine are like a super defensive team, and they always seem to have each other's back, and they're defensive mind first and attacking later, which I think does play into them being as successful as they are, and it allows them to plan really well. And I agree with that statement that person made. I wish I could remember what video it was on, but it was a very good comment and very well thought out. So I very much agree with that sentiment. So this was a very enjoyable episode. I loved every second of it, and I'm excited for 116. However, it seems that's going to be in 2 weeks, which hurts my soul, because this is the last week, last Thursday that I'd be playing this month. Anyway, I'll see you guys on Tuesday for whatever video I make next. Peace.